Brian, just on the championship itself, 7 games to go for everyone. Toulouse York on 26, Bradford 24, Oldham 22. It's proving just to be as exciting, tight and tense as everyone thought it was going to be as we enter the final sort of running now, the business end.
Yeah, it's a really good competition, isn't it? And the bumps and bruises that everybody's sustaining and taking on board for good reasons. There's a lot of good teams there.
How does this sort of championship sort of title race, whoever finishes top has effectively home advantage throughout the playoffs up to the grand final? How's it really exciting you?
Yeah, you've got to play well right throughout the year. Because as I've said, it's the nature of the competition. Every team has aspirations to win every week. And belief, mainly. Perhaps maybe with the exception of Hunslet at this moment in time, who are struggling a little bit, but everybody else, their expectations on them and the hope of their fans is that they get over the line, which makes it tough.
With there being 7 games to go, what do you think the key factors are going to be in deciding which sides are in the top 2, which sides are in the overall 6? Because below the 6th place side, you've got Doncaster chomping at the bit. It's going to be a fantastic end.
Well, next week there'll only be 6 games left, so you don't get much chance to change things. So every week's important. And I think that's the question you're asking me. Everybody's aspiring to finish high up as they possibly can because of the small advantage that gives you in the playoffs. And then it's all to play off. It's all to play for the playoffs themselves.
In the past, you've mentioned about wiggle room. How important was it, that win over Oldham, effectively to put a little bit of daylight between yourselves and that chasing pack?
It was important for ourselves because we played reasonably well the week before and not got a result. And I thought we played better against Oldham than we did the previous week, which was good. The boys taking on board information and trying to find their best form at the right time of the season. We're a little bit healthier than we've been for a while, which helps. But most teams have gone through an injury crisis of some description or other, and it generally affects your outcome. Probably the alternative argument to that is York, who've managed to maintain a similar style of play right throughout what they've been doing. So I think it's everybody's aspirations to find a run of form, and we're no different.
You said afterwards it felt like the best 80 minutes that the side have displayed in a long time. On review and what you're seeing here at Tong and Hudsall, does it feel like everything's clicking into gear at the right time, Brian?
There are really good signs for us. And I think there's a buy-in from the players as well, which are always good attributes to have this time of year. But as I can say, there's always a narrative playing against our team. There's always a narrative for the other team for whatever reason. Widnes have got a great narrative this weekend. A lot of stories what they should and shouldn't be doing. They've got a really good coach, and so we have to expect the very, very best of Widnes.
If it is the same spine again, do you expect that attacking flair shown against Oldham to continue improve? How do you see that evolving?
Well, you'd be disappointed if it takes a step backwards. That's what we do as coaches. We try and maintain a good status quo and understand if we get to the right parts of the field, what we can and can't do. We're no different to anybody else.
We mentioned post-match Brian, food for thought. Obviously, I know you're not going to sit here and tell us what the team is, but certainly a lot of players in that performance against Oldham put their hand up for this game against Widnes and moving forward.
Well, another key to performing well towards the back end of the year is having an element of stability. And if you have a good performance from a team, then you should stick with it for all the right reasons, unless you have exceptional people to put in your team.
How important is it for you and the side that they carry that momentum that's come off the back of that 28-12 win against Oldham into this match against Widnes on Sunday?
Of course it's important, but I thought there were improvements the week before as well against York. So those two performances put together, we're looking for an element of continuity for sure. Yeah.
Is there any aspects of that performance from Friday that you want to see again on Sunday?
Yeah, pretty much all of it. Yeah, of course there are. Yeah.
And in terms of, obviously, like you say, the challenge facing your side this weekend against the Widnes Vikings, certainly it's going to be a very, very tough physical game. You yourself as a player, Brian, had many tough battles with Widnes over the years, and I guess that's kind of one of those rugby league trends that's continued.
Yeah, I think it comes with the postcode. You know, that they're expected to aim up, particularly at home. They've got a great stadium. As I said, they've got a good coach, some good roster. Look at their roster, it's okay. But in many respects, the tough games go both ways. It'll be a tough game for them as well.
What's your message to the team? What are your expectations for this one?
Well, not too different to pretty much every week. If we play to our potential, we're a very good team. So it's important that we play to our potential.
In terms of the team news, not the 1 to 17, there was some phone calls you said you were going to be making this week. What's the latest with Aribi Doro?
Yeah, I think Aribi's sticking around, which is good news. Yeah, on all the other phone calls, nothing on reply yet.
Fenton Rodgers is been on social media this morning back at the Huddersfield Giants. Can we read too much into that? Has he gone back to Huddersfield, or is he expected to be here for the game against Widnes?
Well, he's Huddersfield's player, and if they're anticipating on using him, then there's nothing we can do about that. So that's the real life that we live with.
You're not expecting Fenton to be here on Sunday then?
No.
Connor Carr, I presume, has gone back, Brian, with obviously Guy Armitage, and
yeah,
you're getting a little bit of sort of, how can I put it, less tension in that, or less pressure on that kind of position and area.
Well, we've been skinny on outside backs all year, and not just to create the performance from everybody to keep the place in the team, but you know, since the loss of George Tafua, what was it, 18 weeks ago now, long time, and different injuries to Gill at times and Armitage at times, it's been a fight to keep some stability in and around the outside backs, but hopefully we'll get in there. I think George will be back in the next couple of weeks, maybe this week, next week, certainly not for the weekend, but maybe for Halifax or just after that game, and that adds a whole lot of competition for places.
And when in the past we've been sat here, and not as bad as last season by any imagination, but you've certainly had at times 6 or 7 players out, Brian. The fact that injury burden is almost evaporating now with George Tafua just around the corner. It's certainly a good time, touch wood, not to be having injured players out on the sidelines.
Well, Pele left, and James Donaldson is a big injury. He won't play again this season. So we're still in a. We'd still like to be a whole lot healthier than we are, but we are looking healthier. I think it's important that all of our players recognise that. It's great to see Mitch Suter back in the mix, and Tom Holmes after his slight layoff, and that ability to pick players and create competition within the squad will be massive in our running.
You mentioned in the past about irons in the fire and potentially permanent players coming in. What's the latest on that, and how are those talks going?
Well, they're still going, but nothing's happened, and until something does, I don't feel really like talking about that. But you know, it's important that you know the rules. They have to be make an impact with the team, and they have to be as good or better than what we've already got.
Widnes, as we know, Brian, they're going through a mixed season, but have shown, you know, competitive performances recently against Toulouse and York at home recently. What are the key threats? What are the danger signs that your side need to be alert to when facing Widnes on Sunday?
Well, we'll share them, because you're right, they are competitive at home. They had a bit of a blip at the weekend in, you know, the opposition had a couple sent off, and it was mix and match, and they lost the boy Maison from an injury. So, but they'll be very, very determined to prove that they're the team that played Toulouse and the team that played York. So we've got to be really on our mettle.
Is it probably something in London having that win against Sheffield, Widnes losing, that gap for that bottom 4 now is down to just 4 points? That, you know, they're going to have a kind of renewed performance from Alan Coleman's side, knowing that, you know, that they potentially could be in that bottom 4 with some more defeats.
Well, that's something you should ask Alan and how he's approaching the game. I think we've got our own demands that we place on our team, and the minimum requirements is that we're something similar to Friday night against Oldham.
it is a 4G playing surface.
Yeah.
Is there any issues with players who can't play on it? In the past, you know, there's been a couple of players when Bradford have gone to Widnes that haven't been risked because of that 4G factor.
Well, I don't think that's a criteria this year. I think we've got a couple of injuries flying around the squad that we have to check on tonight. And there'll be injuries that we'll treat in their own merit.
Michael Lawrence, what's the latest with him?
I don't know about those till tonight.
And just when you look at Bradford against Widnes in Widnes, Brian, it's just one win in 8. Clearly a tough place to go. How important is that kind of focus, that mindset, that intensity, you know, knowing that there is a record there to be broken on Sunday?
Yeah, it's very important. It's how we perform and how we prepare for the game and our intent. Our intent was good last Friday. If we can replicate the intent, we should be okay. But who knows what the opposition will dish up.
Thank you, Brian.
See what happens there.